Hello and welcome to Tarot with Tanya. This is 7 cards for 7 days, and we are looking at the first week of April. So we're beginning on Monday 4/1. So we're just coming off of Easter. So happy Easter if you celebrated that. And thank you so much for being here. Take all the information within, see if it resonates for you, and if it doesn't, just let it go. So we begin our week with the moon in Capricorn, and then we'll end next Sunday with the moon in Aries. And on this Monday, we have Mercury turning retrograde till the 25th of the month. And whenever that happens, people tend to get a little bit nervous about communication disruptions, delays, technology going on the fritz, things like that. And all that stuff can happen. You can also have energies of being a little bit hasty, quick to do things, maybe too quick. So you want to be mindful to take some extra time while this Mercury retrograde is happening, because the Aries part is where the hasty can come in, wants to do things very quickly with lots of energy. And Mercury is also quick, is quicksilver, you know, we associate with that. So that's why it can be a little bit of an impulsive and hasty energy. So just be mindful of that going on, particularly for the next few weeks. If you can avoid, you know, signing contracts, things like that, putting things off till afterwards, I suggest you do. And beyond that, we also, on Thursday the 4th, have Venus entering Aries. So, you know, Venus, the planet of love, romance, relationships, nice things in general, loves beauty, art, the aesthetic. And in Aries can be quite passionate, very expressive, animated, things like that. It's not a natural home for Venus, but it can do fine there. Then on Saturday, we'll have Venus sextile Pluto, and those are pretty flowing energies. It can feel very intense, passionate, because, you know, I've mentioned Venus's qualities, and then Pluto's all about transformative intensity. So, and, you know, on the dark side of that, we could run into some manipulation. So we kind of want to watch that. And then by the next week, and I'll talk about them in the next video, we'll have that second eclipse, because they always come in pairs, but we'll deal with that next time. So that's kind of our week in astrological terms. Then I'll go through the cards, and we'll end with an oracle card from Enchanted Blossoms. So this week is heavy on the people cards. So there could be influential people or energies within the self, archetypal energies. We begin, and I'm using the Crow deck. So we begin with the Knight of Cups. Some people are suspicious of the Knight of Cups for being too romantic, too maybe gushing, love bombing, giving, things like that. But I think it's a lovely card. And so it could, you know, be a very romantic gesture showing up. It is a kind of balanced masculine and feminine, because it is a knight, the masculine, but it's also the cups, the psychic, the emotional, the intuitive, and that would be where the feminine comes in. So that's our Monday, which of course is April Fool's Day too. So, you know, maybe be mindful of that energy and if it's legit coming in. And then on Tuesday, our second people card, the Queen of Swords. Now this is a different kind of energy. It has that same sort of masculine, feminine balance, because here Queen, feminine, air, masculine. So air is the intellect, our ideas, our words, verbal communication, those kinds of energies. And the Queen is very masterful at what she does. So on her light side, she can be very analytical, very penetrating with insight, understanding things, able to express them. you know, with swords, always there's the potential for very sharp, cutting words and insight that's delivered in that sort of way. So that's a potential for Tuesday. So, you know, if it's coming from within, you want to use those words wisely, use that energy wisely. If it's coming at you, just, you know that it is an energy, and like all energies can be a little unwieldy if not handled well. When we get to Wednesday, we move into our first minor, and we're back to cups, so that intuitive, psychic, emotional energy. And as you can see here, this one is the Four of Cups. So our crow is standing, sort of perched above three of them. And the other one, which is, you know, something that was done on the Rider-Waite deck, that kind of hand of God here, sort of, you don't really see that quite, but there's something, cloud, whatever, nature, presenting this alternative. So I always find this card kind of slippery to read. I feel like it is encouraging us here to look for an alternative, to know what we have, the three that are already there, not to miss another possibility, and you know, one label for this card is luxury, and that's in the Thoth deck. And it's almost like there's so much waiting, because fours are very stable numbers. They're connected to the Emperor. So there can be a little bit of a fixation there, less so with water and the emotions, but there is that hint. So we kind of want to watch for that and try to use it again as something that lets us see our alternatives on that day. We go right to another four on Thursday, and this four, you know, get that same stable thing, same connection to the Emperor, but this one's about celebration. You know, on a darker side, you can read it as a false sense of celebration. Maybe something's being tried to cover up. I've heard some readers describe it that way. But to me, it very much is celebration. I like the wands here and the beautiful flowers. They sort of, I can't quite tell if they're roses or datura or something like that, but the crows look like they're communicating nicely, and you got the wonderful fountain behind. So hopefully that can be a great day of some kind of celebration. So, you know, maybe it's even some of the fog lifting from the previous day. And by the time we get to Friday, we have our one and only major of the week. And it's a doozy, because it's the Tower, as you can see. So the Tower, you know, it can be outward and dramatic and so forth. Some big event could happen in the world. It could also be a much quieter, more internal change. Something happening. A new perspective on something. I mean, I dreamed once that I saw a tower, but it was underwater, yet I could breathe, and I walked toward the tower, and then I just watched it very slowly fall over. So it can happen in that way. Our old emotional towers can fall down, and to me in the dream, I knew it was a good thing. It was like, okay, I'm watching this, but I know, you know, it's important and it's beneficial. So what are the old things that we might be able to let go of? I mean, sometimes it feels like it's completely out of our control, but yet I would suggest at some level our soul is going along with that program. Our personalities might not realize we need that change, but something in our souls does. So it's a number 16, which, you know, in numerology reduces to a 7. So the 7 connects to the Chariot, and that's very much aligning the self, the goals, the values, the direction one wants to go, and moving that forward. So this can be, again, an internal or an external way of that happening as well. So again, that was Friday. On Saturday, we get that final people card, a royal card, and this one is the Page of Wands. So we started with the cups, then we went to the swords, and now with our final royal card, we're dealing with fire. So the instinct, not the intuition, but the instinct and the desire to speak up passionately. It can be very romantic, fiery in that way, or it can be about any kind of issue that's got a person fired up. So again, can come within, or it can be someone around you, particularly perhaps a young female or just a young energy that's very expressive. And we have that same thing going on with the balance of the masculine and feminine. The pages tend to be seen as feminine, and the fire obviously is a masculine element. So a lot of interesting balance this week, and with those 2 4s really getting things stabilized in a way, and then boom, the Tower shakes something up internally or externally. We get a message, or we give a message, we are able to speak a new truth perhaps through the Page of Wands, and then by the time we get to next Sunday, we end with this nice pair, the 2 of Wands. So we're continuing that fiery energy. So kind of seems like it's going to be a big weekend. And I mentioned before, we are in eclipse season, and that really can rile people up, or just feel a little gnarly, a little challenging to deal with. And this card can have that aspect, that it can be 2 people. I would not say like in a bad conflict, but sort of like, locking horns or arguing about something, but doing it in a way that's still what would I call this, shoulder to shoulder here, a kind of side by side. And actually, I don't know if I can bring it close enough so you can see their expressions. They look pretty satisfied. So I think it's a very nice pair. It's a 2, so it's going to be connected to the High Priestess. So this is the more fiery side of her intuition, her psychic ability, a very quick flash, that tends to be a little more on the instinctual side. So that's our week. A fair amount of fire, a little bit of water, a major, and a sword. So we're fairly balanced in the element, though you may have noticed that the one we're missing is Earth. So it might not be the most grounded week because of that. So be sure to get outside if you can, walk a little bit in nature. If it's warm enough where you are, maybe even go barefoot. Just feel your body, and that will help give that sense of grounding. So we'll finish today with a card. I've really been into these lately, if you can't tell, from Enchanted Blossoms. And the one that came up, and I thought this was so appropriate, is spirituality. And that is the cherry blossom and the Chinese peacock as our butterfly. So the cherry blossom is a widely celebrated flower, with festivals occurring almost anywhere the tree blooms. In Japan, people watch the progression of the blossoms on the news along with the weather. Very sweet. The cherry blossom is so ingrained in Japanese culture that it makes appearances in all forms of media, including manga, or art, anime, paintings, and business logos. It has also been used as a rallying symbol for the public and military. Cherry blossom festivals are hosted in Vancouver, in Denmark, and Amsterdam. The festival in Washington, D.C. is a month-long event that attracts people from all over the world. The cherry tree blooms en masse, and the blossoms die this way as well. Thus, they often symbolize the fragility of mortal life. This card calls you to contemplate your personal spirituality and how it affects your life and your happiness. Your personal spirituality is more profound than a belief in a god, gods, or religion. It embodies how you connect to others and that which is greater. It informs your sense of meaning and place in the world. Use your heart. So important. Use your heart to decipher what feels true for you. Spirituality is the soil in which you grow. It nurtures, sustains, and connects you to everything within and beyond the mundane. Understanding your personal spirituality and belief will bring you a greater knowledge of who you are. So, beloveds, I'm wishing you the best week possible. I hope it's a wonderful one and that you're all doing well. Please consider sharing this video, liking it, subscribing if you haven't already. And if you are in need or curious about a personal reading for yourself, there'll be information at the end of the video as well as in the description box below it. I will see you next week.